Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. She is a teen girl allegedly murdered by singer David. Her body found inside his car last year, but we didn't find out until last week how she actually died. That's because the LAPD sealed the autopsy report, a move the medical examiner tells our Hunter Sowers tonight he did not agree with.
Prosecutors have described this case as a parent's worst nightmare as more details continue to emerge surrounding the death of Celeste Rivas, who was last seen connected to singer David.
Now, you guys know I've been all over this case from day one, okay? I told you guys I submitted evidence that I found. Not only that, I talked to an alleged victim's parent. The parent told me some things that is lining up with new evidence that has came out today. And we finally possibly know exactly what happened to Celeste that very night that she was taken from us. Stay tuned, Fugitive TV. Welcome to Fugitive TV. I am your host, Ray Marcel. And what we do here is we take a look at cases of missing individuals, cases that sometimes need a bigger spotlight, a deeper dive into certain cases, like I've been doing with this one, David. And we take a look at it from a different point of view because, see, I was once a fugitive on the run from the law myself. I ran for 15 years. I lived in different countries under different names, eventually turned myself in. I opened up a few companies, and now I run this YouTube channel talking to you guys, a motivational speaker, and I help family members locate missing individuals. Well, I've been on this case about David from day one, ever since Celeste was found in the trunk of his car, or you should say frunk, because it was a Tesla in the front part of it. So I shouldn't have to tell you guys exactly what the story is about if you clicked on this, right? But Celeste is the 14-year-old who was found in the front of David's Tesla. David is the famous singer that was on the verge of blowing up. Now he's on the verge of going to prison or maybe even getting the penalty by chair. Now, for you guys that's been following me, I've been giving you guys, before he even got arrested, okay? Now, she was found back in September of 2025. They just arrested him, what, 2 weeks ago? So before he even got arrested, I've been throwing so much evidence at you guys. It's been crazy what you can dig up on somebody on the internet with digital evidence, especially if they keep leaving trails of it. I've showed you guys text messages. I've showed you guys videos. I've showed you guys pictures, snapshots, all kind of things. I've spoken with people who were close to the situation. I even spoken with one of Celeste's neighbors that lived down the street. So I've spoken with a lot of people. Now, my last few videos, I told you I even spoke with one of the victims' parents. Welcome everybody. We are about to start in about a couple minutes. Welcome everybody to Fugitive TV. Welcome everyone. Justice Talks with Julia. We got Julia in here, one of the moderators. Not only that, part of the team, helps me do my research. River Life, Lynn Tucker, Rebecca, Lene, hope I said your name right. Lene0409, hope I said it right. Lene, right? Lynn Tucker, Christina, Lori. Lori says, how do you find the cases that get little or no attention to provide a platform? Also, when in May is the book release? So the first question, a lot of times people send me cases. I get probably about, oh my God, maybe I would say 15, maybe 20 emails a day of just cases I probably get. And the hardest part is because I'm not full-time on here, doing this all day. So the hardest part is literally, all right, I'm going to do this case and this one has to go to the side. That is the hardest part about this, is that part. The book is done. What is going on right now is I'm exploring an option of getting a book deal. So I'm exploring an option right now. If the publisher doesn't come back with a good deal that I want to work with, I can't disclose all the details right now, but if they don't come back with the deal I want, or I should say, they want to take all my rights and own everything, no, then I'm gonna release it myself. So I'm waiting to see what's going on. Hey, Tina, what's going on? Another moderator. We got Kristen Lindsay from Middletown, Connecticut. So I'm guessing David is going to have way more charges. David might be looking at feds, but we're going to talk about that. We are definitely going to talk about that. We got your dream girl in here. Tammy Parsons, Weird Wig. Got a fly in here. So if you see me swiping, it's because there's a fly that keeps bugging me. Diva369. Lori from Australia. Wow. What's up, mate? Perfectly. We got Donna, Wonder Woman. Another moderator here. Looks like we got all the moderators in here tonight. We got Spiritually Guided and Angela. Hey, what's going on, guys? Hold on real quick. Be right back. All right, so what we're going to do today is we are going to, first of all, if you guys have questions about any of these cases, go ahead, ask away. The link is up there too. You can hit the link to call. You can do whatever you want. But we are going to discuss the court documents. And thank you, Julia. Julia actually sent over the full court documents for David. So we have the full documents. Nothing is blanked out. Nothing is scratched out. Nothing. So thank you, Julia, for that. She sent that over to me today. So I never had the full documents. Let me just download them real quick. David looking at death. Yeah. Hey, you know what? He's lucky he's in California, because he was somewhere else like Texas. Oh. But you know what? They might make a special. They might do something just for him. I don't know. I would not be shocked if that happened. Let's see. Where is it? I know I downloaded them. Hold on real quick. Where are they at? Where are these files, people? Hold on real quick. Got to download, I think, from my phone. I don't think I ever downloaded it. Julia, going through your text right now. Me and Julia probably talk about 80 times a day. Crazy. Rename so I can find it. All right. I hope you guys had a great day today. I'm just downloading these court documents from my phone onto the computer so we can all see them, read them, and go over them together, because this is new information right here. So I know I read the medical examiner's report before, but this right here is new. The medical examiner's report is horrible. I don't think I'm probably going to go over that again. I'll answer questions, but it's really stomach turning. And then we're going to get into some things about Nancy Guthrie too. We're also going to get into her. We didn't forget about Nancy. There's some things that I'm finding out that detectives are actually thinking about, some that I think I said maybe two months ago. I said now they're starting to almost agree with what I'm talking about. But hold on real quick. We will definitely get into that too. What Dropbox is this being sent to? Because I got 2 Dropboxes. I always forget which one I'm logged into. Oh, found it. All right, I found it. All right, I found it. All right, who else we got in here? We got. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Spread the algorithm. Help a brother out. That's the way you can show some support. I'm just going over to see any questions we got. Yep, Christina. Yeah, Julia, I think, answered the question. So yeah, so far, because I'm on it. They have not confirmed it yet. So yeah, she's right about that. The clothing matched her. So they, even the day they found Nahida. So this is about Nahida. She asked me about Nahida, because you guys know Nahida was found in the same area that we were all live at. I got a message within an hour that they found the body there. Within an hour, I got a message, actually. And when they found her, they believe that it is her. But they, you know, they have to do things technically and go through the autopsy and everything else and make sure she's identified, you know. So, but so far, they still have not officially identified her, but they know it's her. Just when you can't, she got 2 ones. Just when you think you can't get any dumber, you read all the Discovery. Oh, yes. Yeah, make sure everybody share the like button. Like Wonder Woman said, thank you. Sunshine Lady, it's been a while. Glad you caught me live. Thank you. The punishment should fit the crime. There's a lot of people who believe that. Eye for an eye. What do you guys think? Eye for an eye? If somebody unalived your family member like the way they did Celeste, should it be eye for an eye? Should he get poked and bleed to death and we watch over him in the pool? Some people believe in that. Tulina, hey, what's going on? Glad you can make it. Karen, glad you can make it as well. Yep. Tina, we're definitely going to get into Nancy too. We are definitely going to get into her.
You want anything from Wendy's?
Hold on real quick. Yeah. Talking to my daughter. Hey, close the door. Yeah, go ahead. David is grossly sick. Eye for an eye. Wonder Woman says, in this case, yes. Mary says, I agree. It's taken a bit long to confirm her identity. I'm wondering if he used chemicals on her body to hide the evidence. Far as I do know that, so apparently she was dismembered. We don't know how bad she was dismembered. And he used a utensil on her quite a few times, is what I was told. So Callie, yes, this is live. This is live. You finally made it. Lynn Tucker says, I think David buried Celeste first when he took that long ride. Then he went back. We're gonna talk about that. We are going to talk about that. 2 chainsaws, burn box, inflatable pool, body bag. Nothing to see here. And he thought he was gonna get away with all this, ordering it online under a fake name, Victoria. That's the fun. He really thought he was going to try and get away with that? Come on now. I can't believe he thought he was going to get away with that. That's the part I couldn't believe. All right, let's get started. I have the court document pulled up. All right. So this is the new document that came out. So this is some of the evidence that they are going to be using against him and their theory. Okay. So we're going to break this down. Oh, why my thing get smaller? What's going on here? Let me fix this. That wasn't supposed to happen. All right, now that that's fixed. All right, so let's take a look at what we have here. And like I said, none of this is scratched out. I didn't have time to scratch any of this out. Everything's here. All right. So this is the people of the state of California versus David Anthony Burke. Isn't it crazy how his last name is almost the same last name as his attorney? We're going to get into the attorney too. We're going to get into the attorney because I was talking with somebody last night about the attorney. But it goes background facts. Now, there's some words I am going to have to dance around a little bit. Okay? Because doing these videos on Celeste and David, some of my videos have been demonetized and things like that because of the nature of what's going on, as in with her age and things like that. So some words I'm going to have to replace just so you guys know, all right? So it goes, dismemberment body of Celeste. Now we all know Celeste was 1-4. We know how old she was when she passed, right? Says was discovered in the front of the trunk's defendant's Tesla Model X on December 8, 2025. The vehicle had been towed 3 days prior, and then it gives you where from, which is Bluebird, and that's the name of the street. I say which was parked approximately 400 feet from the defendant's home at Dahoney Place in Hollywood Hills. Surveillance video and other evidence confirmed defendant was the last person to drive the vehicle on July 29, 2025, before he left Los Angeles on tour. Now, before we get further, let's talk about that real quick. Before we get further, let's talk about that real quick. All right. What's going on, Joe? Good to see you, Joe. Mary, why are they saying she was pregnant? We're going to get into that too. They never confirmed if she was or not, but I'm going to tell you what happened, all right? Now, yes, David's been in jail. He's been arrested now. He's definitely in jail. Well, on here on the court doc, it's saying David was the last person driving on July 29th, 2025, right? And then allegedly he parked the Tesla, and the Tesla's been sitting there for all of August. And then it was picked up on September 5th. So it was sitting there for a month and plus 5 days, right? Now, if you guys know Steve Fisher, though, I'm going to see if I can try and find a video, because Steve Fisher just did a video today. Okay. So Steve Fisher is the private investigator that was hired by the landlord of where David was living at. And just if you don't know, David's name was not on the lease. It was David's manager that was paying and renting the house out in Hollywood Hills, and David was staying there. Now, the landlord wanted to hire a private investigator, like, hey, did somebody die in my house? I need to find out what happened. I don't blame him, because now that stuff has to be disclosed. If somebody wants to put his house for sale, now if somebody asks, hey, he's got to tell, now you got to tell them. So I don't blame him for trying to hire somebody and figure it out. So he hired Steve Fisher. Now, Steve Fisher, I will give him props. From day one on this case, Steve Fisher has not been wrong. Everything Steve Fisher has came out with, it has become true. There's not one thing. And a lot of things that I found, Steve Fisher ended up finding later on, because Steve Fisher, remember, got hired later on. When this case first happened in September, me and some other YouTube creators jumped on it right away. We started finding things and finding evidence that he left online. And then Steve Fisher got hired later on. And then the stuff he found, matched up with. So pretty much we all matched. If we were the prosecution, we would have all the evidence in hand, between all of us or whatever, right? Now, the one thing that it says that David was driving the car last. If you ask Steve Fisher, though, Steve Fisher is going to tell you something different. All right. Welcome, Yvonne. Welcome. Yes, Steve Fisher is going to tell you something different. I'm trying to see if I can find where, because I was watching the video earlier today of where it's of Steve Fisher talking about this. Let's see here. Where is it at? But Steve Fisher says that he got the video, and on the video he says it was a person in a red jersey or red shirt, light skin with long hair that was last seen driving the car. That's what Steve Fisher said. That's totally different than David. David's not light skinned. David doesn't have long hair. Now, we don't know about the red shirt. That part we don't know. But that is what Steve Fisher says. So that's the one thing that I know that's different than what the DA is saying compared to what Steve Fisher's saying. Now, I can give you two reasons of maybe why. Now, the light-skinned guy, Steve never said the name, but you would think it's Neo the Asian, his friend, his best friend, the one that's in all the pictures, all the videos with him. Neo also flew out to, now I always forget the state, probably because that's one state I've never been to, Montana, North Dakota, whatever it was. Remember, he was trying to hide out, did not testify. Then they had to arrest him there and bring him back to LA. And people are like, why is he hiding out? To bring him back. So he would be the one that fits that profile with long hair and light skin. Now, you might be asking, like, why are they saying David is the one who drove the car? Well, let me get something for you guys. Hold on real quick. Let me pull this up. Okay. Let me pull this up. Where is this at? Hold on real quick. Let me go to it. And if anybody sends me a text, my phone's charging right now, so I was letting you know right now my phone's charging a little bit because it was about to die. All right, so let me pull this up for you guys. I got it. All right, so this video is apparently from, what is it, July 29th? Now it's just a loop. This video right here is just a loop. This is from July 29th, okay? So this is apparently the video that was the last time this car was driven. Now, from what I heard was that there's a longer video. I don't know if it's true, but I heard there is a longer video. Okay. Look how dirty the car is. This guy, look how you could tell he was up to no good with something, because if you look at all the videos before this happened, his car was clean, immaculate. Then afterwards, it was filthy. But there's apparently a longer video. I don't know if the video entails the person getting out of the car and getting in. That's the part I don't know. Okay. But here is the thing. At this time, we do know the Tesla, the battery's not dead. The battery's not dead. It's right there, right? So if this person's using the key card or the phone, we know exactly the time this car was driving. We know the time the doors open up. We know the time the doors close. We know all of that. We know the time the front closed. We're gonna know all that, and I'm pretty sure they have all that, okay? Because the Teslas keep a timestamp. All right, everything that happens on a Tesla, it's recorded. It is recorded. So it's going to show the timestamp for everything. All right. Now, let me show you guys something right here. Let me show you guys this. Just in case you guys don't know, this is why you got me right here. This right here that is the app for Tesla. Okay. Now watch this. You see how it says open? You see the lock in the middle? I just unlocked it. Okay. I just locked it. If one of the doors open up, you're going to see the door open. Okay. And it all leaves a timestamp. So they're able to see the timestamp and the location, the GPS location at the same exact time, if you get what I'm saying. And this is before that so they can't say, oh, the battery's dead. They should be able to pick this up. And on top of that, most of these houses got some sort of cameras because these are rich people. They all got cameras, okay? And it's Hollywood Hills, a lot of burglaries going and all that stuff. David's house had cameras in the front of it everywhere. So if they're able to line up that time with where the car was exactly at, I'm pretty sure they were able to get a camera footage too of somewhere of who was getting out and in this car. Victoria says, who even thinks to dismember someone? Somebody who is trying to hide something, that's for sure. He is not going to escape justice for this. Joe said, I can't relate. Thank you, Wonder Woman. So that's that. And then he did this. Let me show you this right here, what he did. So this image is blurry, but what he did was they took a still photo and the window was slightly rolled down, but you really can't see nothing. Let me move myself over though. If you look all the way to your left-hand side, it does look like a red shirt. It does look like somebody maybe with a light-skinned hand. I don't know. It's hard to tell, right? But then you also have, see down here, you have Neo. Neo was known to wear a lot of his favorite red jersey. He has a lot of pictures with this red jersey on. So a lot of pictures. Only problem is the red jersey isn't long sleeved. So, but I don't know. I really don't know. So I can't tell you if this was him or if this was David. I guess we will find out, find out everything. All right. So let's get back to, I figured I wanted to show you guys that. All right. So it says, he was the last person driving, dropped the vehicle off on July 29, 2025, before he left Los Angeles to go on his tour. Can't hear a word. I'm at work and no CC in lives. Oh, there's no closed caption in lives. I didn't know that. I did not know. There's no closed caption in lives. No way. Bella says, I still think David dropped her off when he went on the drive. I think Neo brought her back in the front. Just my opinion. So on September 8, 2025, the manager of the tow yard, and it tells you exactly, what happened with the tow yard. So we all know that part, okay? So we all know what happened with the tow yard, that they smelled a foul odor, and that's when they called police. So, and then it goes, at the tow yard, LAPD detectives opened a Tesla's front storage compartment, observed a black cadaver bag covered in insects. Inside the bag, they discovered a severely decomposed head and torso. Plastic garbage bag beneath the black cadaver bag contained the dismembered arms and legs. So put the torso and the head in the body bag that he eventually ordered online from Amazon, and then put the rest of it in the garbage bag. I don't know. Maybe he thought it would all fit in the first bag and figured out it wouldn't all fit. Maybe that's what happened. Then it says, however, the victim's ring and pinky fingers on her left hand have been amputated and were not found in the Tesla. All right, so Now it goes on to talk about robbery homicide detectives determined the victim defendant met in January 2022 when she was just 1 years old. Like I said, I got to dance around some of this stuff. So met when she was 1 years old. All right. Which I've been saying this since, oh man, I think the end of September when I found out, maybe the beginning of October was when they met, because us creators found out that was when they met. We found that out. So, and I know when I found out, when I submitted it. So I don't know if they're using any evidence that us creators sent to them, or they took what we sent and then did their own research, so that part, I don't know. But I would like to find out exactly, did they actually listen to some of us with that? Yes, Lynn. Lynn says nasty. Sickening. Now, it says they begin an intimate relationship November 2023 when she was 13. Okay? Just becoming a teenager. 13. Matter of fact, she just turned 13 because her birthday's in September, guys, right? When's her birthday? Is it September? Yeah, because she was supposed to turn 15, right? When they found her. So her birthday's September. So she just turned 13 and David has her in the bed. At this time, David was 18. Detectives learned the victim had been reported missing to the Riverside County Sheriff's Department by her family, who live in Lake Elsinore, in February and April, because she was reported missing twice. So it was reported missing the first time in February, okay? And then the second time in April 2024. Then it says RCSD, which is Riverside County Sheriff's Department, contacted the defendant on February 17th, 2024, after they identified a phone number in the victim's phone records that belonged to David. During the call, David claimed he had spoken to the victim last on February 13th or 14th, 2024. Isn't that around Valentine's Day, people? That's around Valentine's Day, right? So they spent Valentine's together. But stated he was unaware she was a minor or that she had been reported missing. Bunch of lies. Bunch of lies right there. Riverside County Sheriff's Department advised him that the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department deputies will be coming to his home on that day. Defendant was living at, and it tells you, the Hollywood Hills house, okay? Sheriff's Department requested that the Los Angeles, I think that's LASD. I don't know who exactly LASD. That's not Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, is it? I thought it'd be LA County. Yeah, I think it's Los Angeles. Conduct a welfare check. Yeah, so Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, LASD, conduct a welfare check at the defendant's home. So Los Angeles Sheriff's deputies went to the defendant's home that night at 8:15 and informed him the victim was and gave David the age and said that she was a runaway. Okay. Then David said, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't know she was this old and a runaway. Okay. I'm just reading some of your Massachusetts here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. What did he do with her fingers? He saved them for trophies. He is very sick. Great question. What did he do with the fingers? We're going to talk about that, but great question. Great content, Ray. Thank you. Thank you, Killing Time. Thank you so much. So he tells them that he didn't know. So the first time they discover Celeste at his house in February, right after Valentine's Day, he tells them he didn't know and, things like that, right? I didn't know. Which is funny because here's the thing. If somebody caught somebody at my house right now that was this age and police came knocking at my door right now and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'll be going to jail. Right then, in there, I'm pretty sure I would be going to jail. I'm harboring a runaway and the age? Oh, yeah, I'm going to jail. But no, not David. Not David, right? So, although he claimed to be unaware of where the victim was at the time, she returned home 2 days later. Despite being informed by law enforcement, the victim was only, 1-3. Defendant continued to pursue her. After the victim returned home in February 2024, her parents took her cell phone away. Defendant drove to Lake Elsinore and paid a junior high school student in the victim's class $1,000 to give the victim a cell phone. Here's my question, guys. How did David get a hold of this other kid in Celeste's class? Nobody's asking that question. How did David get a hold of a kid that's in Celeste's class? Were they all hanging out at one point? Were they already talking? Or he just hit up some random kid from the class? How did he know? Thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, how did David know to contact this person? Yvonne says, I never even heard of him before now. most people in our age group haven't. That's for sure. David was hanging out with the preteens. He just walked around outside like R. Kelly. Loitered around the school. Celeste probably got him. Yeah, so I would like to know, how did that come about? Did he talk to more kids from her school? Was there more? Not just this kid? Who else was getting paid? Who else? Somebody else got paid. You can't tell me he was the only one that got paid. Some other kids, I should say, was getting paid. And that picture is about 3 kids. Okay. Then there's a video too, which is hard to find now. But the video, you see about 4 kids. All right, so it says, go back to, so the defendant claims, so it's back to this. Her parents took her cell phone away. Defendant drove to Lake Elsinore. And remember, it's an hour away from his house. Lake Elsinore is an hour away from Hollywood Hills, about an hour, give or take. So that's when he paid $1,000 to the person with the phone, which is funny because us creators, you know who found the picture? Us. We found the picture of him paying the kid off. The kid who took the picture tried to expose David in 2024 with that picture. But at that time, nobody listened to the kid. The kid went on TikTok and Instagram talking about David's paying his kids off, but nobody listened to the kid. So this kid that took the picture did try to expose David, but nobody listened to him at that time. Now his video's everywhere, but at that time, nobody listened to him. There's also another kid that's in, well, actually, I don't think he's a kid. I think he's of age. Maybe he's 18, 19. Some people know about this, some people don't. He is from Egypt. This is how far this goes, guys. This is how far this goes. All right. There is a up and coming, or was a producer from Egypt. I'm going to try and look for him while we're on live. From Egypt, okay? He even got involved and knows what was going on. He himself tried to, I think in a way, if I remember correctly, blackmail David or something like that. I think he tried to do, if I remember correctly. I have to pull it up. But he tried to blackmail David. I don't remember how he found, I think it was from the Discord and all that stuff. When everybody was on Discord and Fortnite, I think that was how he got involved. And what he was doing was he would make beats. He would produce beats. And he was sending David beats. Okay. And I want to say, if I remember correctly, that was how he was blackmailing David. Like, hey, use my beat or buy my beat or something like that. I'm going to tell on you or whatever. And I think David gave him hush money or used a couple of his beats. So this guy never said anything. He kept his mouth shut. I'm going to see if I can bring that up. I'm going to find that for you guys. I have it in one of my old videos, but I'll see if I can find that for you guys. I'm just reading some of your comments. The neighbors knew. The neighbors on Celeste Street definitely knew. I've always talked about that because I spoke to one of them personally. They definitely knew. TC says, do you think the cops listen or rap since they were watching and tracking David? That's a great question. Are you saying, do you think they listen like, well, I do know that we're going to get into that. They wiretapped his phone and things like that. So I do know, he was wiretapped and, all that type of stuff. So that one I do know. Let's see here. And since they wiretapped his phone, I'm pretty sure they were monitoring everything. I'm pretty sure they had eyes on. They probably had a whole team looking at all kind of things. They probably looked at my videos. They probably looked at other creators' videos. They looked at TikToks. They probably looked at all of this stuff because I'm pretty sure they knew a lot of us were finding this evidence from the start. And then what they probably did was, look at our videos and things. Okay, they found it. Well, we can find it too, because if we can find it, I know they can find it. Yeah, and we're going to get into them watching him, all right? Because it doesn't take much for the police to wiretap you. They don't need a lot of evidence. We're going to talk about that. So he paid the kid, right? $1,000. The victim spent a significant amount of time with the defendant. So the victim, as in Celeste, including, and here's the part we're going to talk about, summer weekends at his home in Hollywood Hills, which we know about, traveling with him to Las Vegas, which I knew about because there's a picture of her at her cousin's graduation in Las Vegas, and David took her there. This part I didn't know. London and Texas to meet his family, guys. London and Texas to meet his family. Now, I do know why he went to London. He talks about why he went to London. He went to London for 2 weeks. He says it in an interview. He went to London for 2 weeks to record some of his music because he felt London was the perfect place because London is kind of gloomy and gives you that dark feeling because it's the clouds are over, it has overcast, and he wanted to go there and write some of his music. So he went there for 2 weeks, but I did not know Celeste was with him. How Celeste get on a plane with him to London? What do you guys think? Now, she had her passport because they're going to talk about that. She did have her passport. But do you think he took precautions or extra precautions and had some sort of a note from her mom saying, hey, you're allowed to be with David, just in case immigration asks? I don't know. I guess we are going to find that out later. Now, some people might say, he flew a private jet, which he did fly a private jet. He did. But even on a private jet, they have to keep a monologue of everybody that's in the plane. And then when you go to a different country like London, you still have to check in with immigration to show your passport. I'm trying to find. Is this it? Here we go. Here we go. All right. So this right here was proof. Yeah, drove her across state lines. That is a federal charge. Took her out of the country. R. Kelly got a federal charge. You might say David did worse than R. Kelly. I mean, R. Kelly did bad, but the victims are still here, at least living. You can say David's worse than R. Kelly, is what you can say. And R. Kelly got a federal charge. So the feds might pick up this charge. They might pick up this charge. See, what does she want? Hold on real quick. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. But here is a picture of Celeste right here. Julie, I got your text. About to read it right now. I got it. This picture shows Celeste in the Caesar's Palace bathroom. SZA performed in Las Vegas on October 28, 2023 at the T-Mobile Arena as part of her SOS tour. This was her most attended concert of all time. It says date, October 28th, 2023. And as you see, here's the pictures. And if you look at the very bottom right, that is Celeste, okay, in a Caesar's Palace bathroom. There's multiple that she was at Vegas. Multiple. Sorry, sound went out for a little bit. Hold on. So that right there, let me read. I'm going to read, let me read Julia's. So Julia sent me what Steve Fisher Investigates says, all right? This is what Steve Fisher Investigates says about her traveling to London. Wonder Woman says, as a minor, need guardian, okay, or birth certificate, right? That's what you would think. It says minors such as Celeste Rivas cannot just travel to London without consent. Here are the laws in UK about people her age traveling with an adult that is not their parent. US citizens do need an ETA/visa to travel or through the UK. You'll need to show that your parent or guardian consists to travel in accommodation arrangements. If you do have to apply for a standard visitor's visa, you'll need to identify the adult traveling with you in your visa application. If the person you're traveling with is not your parent, you'll need to provide specific information about them in your application. You can identify up to 2 adults in your visa application. Their names will appear on your visa. The adult can apply for a visa at the same time, but you must each complete separate applications. So it says right there that if you're somebody her age and you're with somebody that's not your parent, you got to complete an application. Just reading some of your comments here. So who gave permission? That is the question of the day. Who gave permission? All right, so I see the private plane coming up. So private planes, the way a private plane works is this, okay? It's pretty much the same as a regular plane, but it's a little different, all right? Here's the way a private plane works. A regular plane has to keep a monologue. You guys bought plane tickets before, right? And then when you buy the plane ticket, you have to put your name, date of birth, and phone number, things like that, right? When you buy your plane ticket. Well, all that goes into the airline system. That's a monologue of all the passengers that's on the plane. Just in case the plane wrecks, crashes, people die. Everybody knows who's on the plane, what seat, things like that. A small plane is supposed to have a monologue of everybody that's on the plane too. So especially when you're going to a different country and you're landing, all right, because that's a 7-hour trip or something like that, 7.5 hours trip. So from New York anyway. So when you're landing, you still have to check in with immigration, and the pilot, whoever's in charge of everything that's on that plane, still has to show everybody or everything that was on that plane. Okay, because there's a lot of people that get busted trying to transport narcotics on private jets. That happens all the time because they think they can get away with it. Come find out they can't, because they still got to check in through immigration when they land, right? So they are supposed to still check in with immigration even on a private jet, and they're supposed to have a monologue of everything, of passengers, items, all that stuff. So that's the way it's supposed to work. Now, a lot of times your immigration gate is going to be maybe different than a commercial airline. So commercial airline, everybody's walking the same way to check in. A private plane might be a little different, where you walk over here and you check in with this immigration officer. Parents were just getting paid off too, I bet. Well, I talked to the neighbor down the street, and the neighbor said that, in their words, they were getting benefits. That was their words, benefits. There's evidence of Celeste's family as in sister and brother at a party with David. So there is a picture of a Cash App where somebody got paid $9,000. So for Celeste to go to London, and for 2 weeks, guys, you gotta remember, this is 2 weeks she went to London. Not only that, when did he go to London? Wait, did he go to London while she was apparently missing? When did he go to London? Let's see. I'm looking at when David went to London. So he went twice. He went in November to perform, and then went in April, May of 2023. 2023. So that would have been before she went missing, right? April, May of 2023. Wouldn't that be before she went missing? Hold on, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at some other stuff. Hold on, let's see here. So he went March 21st, 2023. So this is before she went missing, but then also went July 7th, 2024, after she went missing. So he went before and after. Did she go with him both times? Now, if she went before she apparently went missing, where do parents think she was at? Where the parents think she was at if she went before she went missing? Because if she went after she went missing, you would think they would have documentation, right? She is a missing person. You would think that would be a red flag as soon as her name got brought up on the system. You would think, right? Unless when you go to UK, they don't have a system for missing people. I don't know. But you would think her passport got flagged because she has a passport as missing. Hey Julie, sure. I think it was 2024. 2024 is when I think she went missing. Yeah, right here. Celeste reported missing both February and April 2024. Now I do know, so apparently she did go, I guess you want to call it missing one time or something like that or whatever, but I don't think they ever filed anything for it. Says, remember, Celeste had a fake ID that showed her age to be 19 years old. That's a fake ID though. That's not a passport. You have to remember, when you're going to a different country, you have to show passport. You're not showing ID. Now, back when I was on the run, this was a long time ago. This is before they changed the law. 2000, before 2000, I think 8 or something like that, you used to be able to cross into Mexico and cross into Canada with just your ID or driver's license. If you were driving, not flying, if you were driving or walking across the border, you used to be able to walk across just with your ID or driver's license in Mexico or Canada. But ever since the 9/11 thing happened, I think 2007 and 8ish, they changed that law. Now you either have to have an enhanced driver's license, passport driver's license, they call it, which only like 2 or 3 states give it. California, I think New York, and maybe one other state. Or you have to have a passport, even if you're walking. Now, if you're going to Mexico, different story. You can go there all day long with nothing, okay? But to fly into a country, you got to have your passport. Hold on, just reading some of your comments. TC said exactly. They used that to get passport and David had connections. Yes, 2001 was 9/11, but a law was changed because of 9/11, but that law didn't take effect, I think, until 2007 or 8. The reason why I remember, because I was able to cross the border without the passport, but then coming back, you were supposed to have a passport. And they were all tripping on me like, hey, you ain't got a passport? What the hell? How'd you get across? And I'm like, the law changed. You guys don't know? Lynn says they have pictures of David. Yes, you're right. They do. They do. Parents need to go to jail. I'm pretty sure we're all going to agree with you. All right, you guys, somebody brought up the whole pregnancy thing. Now, before we get off this, David's family met her too. David's family met her too. They continue communicating in text messages as they also David's family met her too. He flew her out to Texas to meet his family. I would like to know when this happened. Flew her out to Texas to meet his family. That's crazy. What did he tell? Did the family just think like, oh, she just looks really young for her age? You just look really young for the age. Is that what they think? I was told there's a place in downtown Los Angeles where you can buy passports. You are right. You can get and go on the dark web and you can get illegal passports. You can. Only problem is you do take a risk because these passports have chips in them now. We can't scan these chips to make sure these chips are legit. All new passports got a chip in it now. But yes, you can. All right. You're just taking a big risk factor with that. It's really sounding like they allowed some things to be brushed under the carpet due to money and fame. I mean, let's go back to the R. Kelly situation. How many of you guys saw the R. Kelly documentary? How many of you guys saw the R. Kelly thing? Remember, R. Kelly was free walking around. Remember, he's free walking around. He's making music. Nobody paid no attention. All that stuff that happened a long time ago back in the 90s with him and marrying Aaliyah when she was younger and all the video of him doing certain things. Everybody forgot about that. And they're talking about nobody mentioned anything. But when the video came out, or it's not the video, but when the whole thing of R. Kelly, the documentary come out, then everybody was like, oh my God. But during the documentary, you had parents in there that was bringing their daughters to the studio for R. Kelly. Matter of fact, one of the moms dressed up just like the daughter. So obviously they were enable something because of the money and fame. They were all at his show in Vegas, yes. And they were at Celeste's, they're at Caesar's Palace. They were at Celeste's graduation. Her parents are being paid 10 grand a month since 2024 until April 2025. And she had a real passport. Gianna, you know some things. Because there is evidence of cash apps of $9,000 and something dollars. Apple Pays of $9,000 and something dollars. There's pictures of Celeste holding Louis Vuittons. We know Celeste can't afford a Louis Vuitton. It was reported that David's father worked for Epstein, or allegedly, for over 11 years. I don't think her age was a real factor. Hey, I've heard that too, and I have yet to dive into that, but I'm going to, because I heard about that too, because David's father is an attorney. All right, so right here it says, text exchanges between the victim and defendant contain references to sex, pregnancy, then the A word, abortion, and use of Plan B emergency contraceptives. So was there a scare at one point? Was there a scare? Was Celeste late? And that's why they start talking about these things? That could be my only guess. There was some sort of a scare, and that's when they start talking about, hey, if this, if you don't get in time, we might have to go get a Plan B. In November 2024, defendant and the victim broke up, although they continued to communicate, and text messages suggest they continued to have sex. Not only is there text messages, but there's voicemails. I have them at that same time, November 2024, okay? Because David saved her voice to use on his album. He saved her voicemails to use on his album. There's a voicemail of Celeste saying, why don't we hold hands like we used to anymore? They're arguing back and forth pretty much. And David recorded all of that. I don't know how it got leaked. I'm thinking some engineer in the studio with David leaked it all, but it got leaked because I have him. Actually, I showed him in one of my videos, like 2 David videos ago. I think I showed it, or I played it for you guys. And not only that, at that time, I told you guys that I spoke to a parent of another girl who was not of age, who was at David's condo, because David had the Hollywood Hills house that his manager, was renting out. Then you had the condo that was not far, pretty much right down the street somewhere, that he was renting out. Celeste sometimes was the condo. She wasn't. Anytime you see a video the video where they're in the kitchen, that's not at the house. That's at the condo, actually. But the person I talked to was at the condo. Her and another girl. 2 girls at the condo while Celeste is at the house. So Celeste must have found out about the other 2 girls. Like, hold on, wait, no, I ain't going for all this. No, it ain't happening. No, you supposed to be with me, David. No, you're not with everybody else. Because you gotta remember, she's young, right? So she ain't going for that. So she's like, no, and we know Celeste can give it attitude. Did you guys see the video of her arguing with the neighbors? Did you guys see that video of her arguing with the neighbors? Let me know if you saw the video of her arguing with the neighbors. Yep, I actually have those comments. So I'm thinking maybe it was a scare. Maybe she was late and she thought she was. So David's father was a clerk or something, not an attorney. I thought he was are we talking about his father? I thought he was an attorney. Or at least did he work at the attorney's office? Is that what it is? You can get different things done if you know it quick. You're right. You can get different things done. You are right about that. But when you're going out of country and you got somebody underage with you, that's taking a big risk. It really is. Because you're looking at Fed charges. Plan B is a contraceptive pill, not A. It depends on who you ask. It depends on who you ask. It depends on, it depends on who you ask. Have you been to Canada? Hey, so Madison, have you been to Canada? When I was in Canada, right? This is no lie. There was girls up there, because they're, right? Here at that time, it was a little different for Plan B, but there at that time, you can go collect them like medicine. You can literally go collect Plan B like Tylenol, like have a bottle of it. And what they would do is they would take multiples. If they thought they was multiples, now it's instant abortion. Is what some of them were doing up in Canada anyway. Celeste was a spicy. Yes, she was spicy. You haven't saw the video? Kadej, you haven't seen the video? It's hard to get a minor's passport if the other parent doesn't sign. You're right. Both parents usually have to sign unless there's documentation that you know that you have full custody over one, or one has full custody. Yeah, she did have the fake ID. Now the passport we don't know about. But like I said, that's a big risk. Let me see if I can, I'm gonna pull up that video of Celeste arguing with the neighbor. So this is how I know she probably told, Celeste told David off. All right.
All the way up to the end?
Right there. I'll tell you where that. See that door right there? Number 2, not on it.
Oh, great, great, great. Why they got the music in the background? They're trying to copyright people over here. Let's see if I skip some of it. Here we go.
No, you ain't gonna let me talk. Why you not gonna let me talk? Okay?
All right.
You gonna let me talk?
You hear that,
No, you ain't
Celeste?
gonna let me talk. Why you not gonna let me talk?
Let me give you guys the background in case you don't know. So this is Celeste after she was reported missing, after, okay, arguing with her neighbors down the street. After she was reported missing. So she came from her house while she's missing. So the parents knew she wasn't missing. And this is proof. She's in there. They know, everybody knew.
You tripping. Nah, you tripping. How about you ain't tripping? You gonna let a woman talk? All right, I'm not gonna let your woman talk.
Why is she over here? Again.
Your little house, you don't even got a house.
Hey, bro.
You talk to.
Yeah, ain't nobody black right here, homie. We're Southsiders right here, homie. We're Southsiders here. Get it right, homegirl. Shut up with your black talking. Shut up. You talking like you black, girl, with your black talking. Yeah. Yeah. Ain't nobody black
So
right here.
Celeste was, she had a little attitude on
I
her.
said we're not black over here. Why you keep calling us? You keep saying this, we're not black. Hey, let it go. Go back to your house. Go back to your house. You ain't gonna do nothing, bro. What you gonna do? You ain't no gangster. You ain't nothing, you know what I mean? What you are? What you are but a little girl? What you but a little girl? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I don't know what.
And these people she's arguing with is grown. I mean, they're grown men.
You need to go home. Seriously.
I'm not Mexican. Salvador, and you tripping.
Oh my god.
Not because you tripping. Move the out of here.
You ain't gonna do shit. You ain't gonna do shit. You better get over there. Get your over there, little girl. Go over there, little girl. You ain't gonna do shit. Go. Go. What are you gonna do, bro?
Go call her dad, babe.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, little girl?
And you hear that? You hear the girl say, go call her dad? Did you hear that? Go call her dad. They knew her parents. But remember, she's missing at this time, allegedly. You hear the girl say, go call her dad.
Go. What are you gonna do, bro?
Go call her dad, babe.
So I can hear or picture Celeste just by this video telling David off. Oh, you ain't gonna have them girls over there. I'm gonna expose you and I'm gonna tell on you and your whole career is done. I can see her doing that. Just, I showed you guys this video. So you see her mouth is. She is, it looks like she was a handful to handle. It does seem like it. So just by this video right here of her arguing with these grown men, I can see her, hey, I'm gonna do this, David. So that lines up with the person I spoke to that's at the other condo, or was at the other condo, I said. She was there at the other condo for 2 weeks around that same time. Why was she even down there hanging out with grown men? Yeah, there was a story behind this. Hold on, what was the story? The story behind this was there was somebody playing a prank. Let me hold on. Where is it? Yeah, somebody was like, somebody was like ding dong ditching or some sort of prank happened or something. I can't remember. And she went down to them and I guess thought they did the prank. I don't know, or was arguing at their kids or something like that. But that's what happened actually. And this was filmed after September 8th, 2024. So this was filmed after September 8th, 2024, way past her missing poster date. Say, I know she did not play. Yeah. You hear her. You heard her. You heard her. She was feisty. Little self. She was so I could tell she probably was a handful, but she was feisty. You could tell. So you could tell when she probably found out these two was at the condo. She was like, "Oh no, David, I ain't going to. I'm about to expose you and everybody." Because Celeste knew he was doing something wrong. Say, "Oh no, you going down," and David was like, you're not about to ruin my career." So it says April 23rd, 2025. Is the likely date of the victim's death, Celeste, when all her cellular activity ceased. The night prior, 2022, 2025, David and the victim engaged in a lengthy argument. So the night before, there was an argument. Described detail in their text messages. The messages reveal Celeste's jealousy over the defendant's relationship with other women, not woman. It's probably the two that's in the condo. So what this person told me lines up. As David led her to believe they had a future together. So he's playing with her, right? Playing with her, but at the same time, got these two over here in the who are underage too, by the way. So I wonder if this is going to get brought up during trial. I'm wondering. I wonder if they're going to be witnesses. She became extremely upset and threatened to disclose damaging information about her relationship with the defendant to end his career and destroy his life. So she put in text, "I'm going to destroy your life. You playing with my heart? I'm going to destroy your life." It's pretty much probably how she put it. The defendant's first studio album was due to be released on April 25th. So the first studio album, which is your first like big album, was due to be released on April 25th, 2025, 3 days after the argument. He had an emerging multi-million-dollar career already in progress. He also had multiple product endorsements, which were highly profitable, which he did, and they all backed out. All of them are backed out now. All of them are gone. Doesn't explain why she got sawed up. We're going to get there. Now, I don't know why, but I can only speculate. All right? I can only speculate. Harlem says, "I've been wondering if the feds will bring charges." I think they could be coming. I think they're going to come. But I think that they might wait because, the feds, there's no expiration date. There's no statute of limitations. I think they're going to wait to see what happens with the state. And then once the state, he gets found guilty or whatnot, then I think the feds are going to go in and make sure he never sees daylight is what I think is going to happen. Because by that time, you got to think about this too. The feds want his money dried up. I was talking about this with somebody last night. David has no income coming in right now. No income. YouTube, his videos are still up, but they demonetized his channel. Fortnite took him down because he was getting royalties from that. Matter of fact, Fortnite's refunding people if anybody bought his character in Fortnite, or his skin as you call it. His endorsements are gone. Spotify is talking about taking him off. They haven't yet, but Spotify is talking about it, and Apple. His record label's no longer paying. You're done. Okay. So he has no income. So whatever he has now has to go to his legal team right now, which they're going to charge him an arm. We're talking about multi-million dollars. They're going to charge him for this. Some people are saying if he even can afford to keep this legal team till trial. So once he spent all this money, feds are going to swoop in and be like, all right, now it's our turn. Now he's got to get a public defender. Public defender. Public defender going to look at his case like, yeah, buddy, you're going down. You're going to go down. Just plead guilty right now. I don't have time to fight for you. You're going down. Plead guilty. The lawyer will dry the money. Yeah. So the feds, I'm not the feds, but if I was the feds and how I've seen them operate, because I've seen them do this, they will wait. They will wait. Think about it, guys. It's like a civil lawsuit, right? Like a civil lawsuit. Same thing with civil lawsuit. A lot of people will file a civil lawsuit after the criminal lawsuit, right? Remember it happened with OJ. OJ did the criminal first, even though they found him not guilty. Then they hit him with the civil afterwards. So feds will do the exact same thing. Feds will wait, play it out, because they can hit you 50 years later. There's no statute of limitations. And then hit you with it. Like, oh yeah, remember what you did back in 1992? We got you. Matter of fact, there is a person out of Los Angeles named Big U. Okay. Big U was a known gang member from the Crips. All right. And Big U eventually ended up getting big in the music world and big in the social media world. All right. YouTube, things like that. Well, Big U is currently in jail right now fighting a charge through the feds. You know how long the feds are watching Big U for? Big U went to jail, I think 2 years ago, 2024, I think it was. Feds were watching Big U since 2011. They were watching him since 2011 and then decided to arrest him in 2024. That's what the feds will do. They will let you dig a hole, let you run through your money and everything else. So at approximately 8:40 p.m. on April 23rd, 2025, defendant sent an Uber to transport the victim from her Lake Elsinore home to his residence. So sent an Uber to her house where she's living out with her family, right? To pick her up. They communicated before and during her Uber ride, which dropped her off at David's house in Hollywood Hills around 10:10 p.m. At approximately 10:30 p.m. Then the defendant sent text messages to the victim inquiring where she was. Okay, did you guys hear that? So they communicated before and during her Uber ride, which dropped her off at defendant's Hollywood Hills home at 10:10 p.m. So dropped her off at 10:10. The Uber, and we know Uber has a GPS tracking, so you can't deny that. They track that. And then at approximately 10:30 p.m., David sent text messages to Celeste's phone asking, where are you at? The people contend this was part of the defendant's premeditated plan to cover up what he did to her, as she was already unalived by that time. David wasted no time whatsoever. Pretty much as soon as she walked in the door, he just surprised her. Threw her in the pool, the kiddie pool he bought, and watched her. Celeste didn't even know what she was walking into. And then sent, hey, I'm going to cover myself. He did this right away. She got there at 10:10 and he sent text messages at 10:30. I can only think about is how she suffered. Man, it wasn't even quick. It was like she suffered. Horrible. It don't matter how big her mouth was. She was still a kid. She was still a kid trying to live the adult life. Like a lot of kids, we all tried to live the adult life and thought we were adults when we were a certain age. We all tried to, you know? And we found out we couldn't, but we all tried to. We all were at that age when we thought we knew it all. Knowing he had to silence the victim before she ruined his music career, as she had threatened very soon after her arrival at his home, defendant then used the utensil to stab the victim to death multiple times and stood by while she bled out. At no time did he call law enforcement or 911 or take her to emergency room to attempt to save her life. Oh, man. At no time. It's crazy. It's very crazy, right? Please make sure you guys remember to like the chat. Okay. Share and subscribe. You know, I got to do my promo real quick, which I never do. I'm just reading some of your comments. So despite knowing she was dead, her family was trying to find her. The evidence will show defendant lied and claimed he didn't know where she was. In fact, defendant, here's the part of the Santa Barbara. One of you guys asked about this earlier. Defendant drove to Santa Barbara County immediately after the victim died, attempting to dispose of her property and destroy evidence. At approximately 11:30 p.m. on April 23rd, 2025, he drove away from his home as he texted and called the victim's phone asking where she was. So he got in his car driving to Santa Barbara and was still calling her phone like, hey, where are you? I don't see you. Where are you at? These were acts calculated and planned to set up his defense within a very short timeline after the victim's vicious unaliving. Defendant drove his Tesla north on 101 freeway, so the 101 freeway, to San Marcos Pass Road, SR 154, near Lake Cacama in Santa Barbara County. He returned home early the following morning on April 24th, 2025, before going to a radio interview for the release of his album. This explains why he ordered the shovel, guys, right? He ordered the shovel. Remember, he ordered a shovel. I bet you he went out there trying to bury her. I'm willing to bet he went out there thinking, oh, I'm going to dig a grave and bury her. Now you have to remember, on his tour, what was he doing on his tour? He was bringing a coffin on his tour with bloodstained shirts, things like that. So he probably thought he can easily just bury her. People that's never dug a 6-foot hole, it's not that easy to. That's why you see so many people in shallow graves, such and such is in a shallow grave, because they don't realize how tough and hard that is. And he had to go to his radio interview the following day. So I bet you he went out there with that shovel and started digging and was like, I ain't gonna be able to do this in time. Let me just discard some of these items I got and let me bring her back. Yep, the shovel from Home Depot. So I'm willing to bet he probably tried to bury her whole person and probably realized he couldn't dig the hole and panicked. Was like, oh, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do? I can't leave her out here, because if I leave her out here, my car and phone shows I'm out here. He probably thought enough sense at that moment, like, oh, they could track me to this location right now. So I can't leave her out here. So let me bring her back and figure out what to do with her. Oh, man. So then it says, remember, he went to his radio interview the very next day. Radio interview, right? Which is all online. So before going to the radio interview for the release of his album that week, he sent 2 additional text messages to the victim's phone that day, which obviously went unanswered because she was already not here with us. After April 26, 2025, David never attempted to contact her again. He went through all this trouble to get her a burner phone, to send her an Uber to the house. Now, after April 26th, I'm just not going to contact her again. Come on. Come on. Who you fooling? This guy. Yvonne says, yeah, found out that digging a hole is not so easy. It is not. It's not. Anybody who ever dug ditches for work, they know that is a tough job. I don't know how he was functioning. He had to be disassociating. He seemed too cool. He seemed cool. The victims of Jeffrey Dahmer probably said the same thing. I don't think he has any sense. I spoke to somebody yesterday. I won't name who I spoke to unless they want to be named, but I spoke to somebody yesterday. They told me that they were friends with one of David's drivers, like a bus driver for his tour. And the driver said David was very immature, which he seemed immature. So they said David was very immature, which probably entails why he was going for these girls who were this age, because he was very immature. So if he's very immature, he probably doesn't have all that sense there yet. Kitty Cat says, doesn't he know they can track everything? The Tesla has cameras all around it. You would think. Now, I'm thinking maybe that's why he didn't leave her in Santa Barbara. Maybe he did think like, oh, well, I can't leave her right here. Maybe that was one thing he thought of. Because you got to think, he did have some sort of sense, right? He had some sort of sense. He ordered the kiddie pool. Let me have the kiddie pool from the keep and contain, which didn't work. Let me order the chainsaw because maybe I can do it easier with the chainsaw. So he did have some sort of like, let me do this, but he didn't have it all the way there. You get what I'm trying to say? It was kind of there, but it wasn't all the way there. So David purchased tools to carry out his plot to dismember and dispose of Celeste's body. On April 24th, 2025, the defendant ordered a shovel from Home Depot that was delivered to his home from Postmates. On May 1st, 2025, the defendant ordered Amazon delivered 2 chainsaws, not just one, but 2. Why? Hey, you guys tell me, why do you think he needs 2? Why he needs 2? I don't see any people asking this question. Why would he need 2 chainsaws? Some people do think they're the smartest people in the room, right here. Some people think they're the smartest people in the room. His weapon is his mouth. The old double-edged sword, singing versus lying to his lawyer. He dug himself in the hole way over his head. I agree. You think the lawyer knows all this? Or you think she was sidetracked and shocked by all this, and that's why she's like, oh my God, we got to continue this. I would not be shocked if she was like, you know what? I can't do this. I'm done. I wouldn't be shocked if the lawyer said, I'm done. I can't do this. He had help. 2 chains. Yeah, why would you order 2, not just 1, 2 chainsaws? What, a backup in case one? Julia said maybe it was a backup just in case one snagged or something. This man ordered 2 chainsaws. 2. So obviously, I think he was going to have somebody help him, or somebody did help him that we don't know. And maybe this person might be the surprise witness, guys. If it goes to trial, might be the surprise witness. Somebody that could have got a little immunity, a proffer agreement, because immunity and proffer agreement are 2 different things. Proffer agreement, aka queen or king for a day. Somebody could have got one of these. I wouldn't be shocked if it is. Because after all, they didn't probably help her do it, like, or help him unalive Celeste, right? But maybe they helped with the cutting up of the body. Imagine this. David calls a friend over. Hey, come on over, like he did her, right? He walks in the garage and you got Celeste right there. He's like, oh, you're part of it now. Now you gotta help me. Now you gotta help me, bro. If you don't help me, you're cut off too. You're cut off. No more publicity for you or whatever. You're no more going to parties. You got to help me. Panic shopping. He probably was. Sounds very dark. Nope. Not on Nancy yet. We're finishing this document, then we're gonna go so we're not there yet. Almost though. I think it may be Neo allegedly. You know what? I wouldn't be shocked if it is Neo. I would not be shocked because Neo was there 24/7. I believe Neo knew how old Celeste was. Neo knew. Come on now, he was there 24/7. I believe Neil knew how old Celeste was. Neil was also driving a Tesla sometimes. There's video footage of him driving a Tesla sometimes. So Neil was taking advantage of David too. Well, so he orders that stuff, right? Then it says, so 2025 May, David ordered Amazon, delivered a body bag, heavy duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool to his home. He made these purchases under the fake name of Victoria Mendez, which I wonder, like, this is the part I wonder. Whose credit card did he use to make the purchases though? Let me do a fake name, but use my real credit card. That just shows you there's some sense, but it's not all the way there. On May 8, 2025, the defendant returned to the same area, Santa Barbara County, leaving his home around 11:30 p.m. He returned to the area again on May 31st. So he actually went to Santa Barbara 1, 2. He went to Santa Barbara 3 times to the same area, guys. Same area. This is an isolated site off the SR 154, where the victim's identification was discovered in January 2026. So they just found her identification. I believe this is where they found their passport too. Additionally, on July 7, 2025, the defendant ordered Amazon delivered a burn cage to his home. So he went out there May 3 times, probably thinking, what am I going to do with this? What am I going to do? He got her in the fridge this whole time, probably. This is sick. Morbid. So then he decides to order a burn cage. I'm going to incinerator. Moreover, defendant took horrifying measures to destroy and discard the victim's body after placing her body in the blue inflatable pool to prevent her blood from spilling onto his garage floor. Defendant used a chainsaw and perhaps other tools to cut off her limbs. Small blue plastic fragments were found embedded in the victim's remains, which were collected by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Department. The fragments were analyzed by the LAPD's Forensic Science Division Trace Analyst Unit. An expert was able to make a physical fit match from the blue fragments to the blue inflatable pool purchased by the defendant in May 2025. In order to distance himself from the victim, he amputated her left pinky and the ring finger because her finger contained a tattoo of his name, which we all know. Her fingers have not been recovered. Defendant then placed her head and torso into the cadaver bag he purchased. He placed her limbs into a garbage bag, which he disposed it into the trunk, laying a cadaver bag on top. For several weeks or possibly months, the defendant left the victim's body to decompose inside his Tesla. He lied to friends, business associates, and others noticed a strong smell of decay in and around his home and vehicle. Before leaving on his concert tour at the end of July, he parked his Tesla on the street around the corner from his home. So did he just get used to the smell? Did he just get just used to the smell? And got so used to it, was like, oh my God. Oh man. Has his lawyer ever defended an unaliver before? I don't know if she has or not, but I will tell you this. I'll tell you what her lawyer has defended. She was on the Epstein team. And we all saw what happened to Epstein. Guilty. His lawyer is good at changing the public perception. That's what his lawyer is known for. His lawyer is a celebrity lawyer where she has connections to people in the media. So let's say you think about this person a certain way, she will use her connections in the media for the media to portray something different. One of her connections is Harvey from TMZ. Now, if you realize when she first got hired, TMZ kind of changed up a little bit. If you remember, TMZ was like, well, how do we know David really did anything? Maybe this is an overdose. We should wait for the toxicology report. TMZ was the first to say that. Maybe this is an overdose. Maybe nobody did anything with her and David's just facing, moving a corpse, which is only a couple years. It could be a misdemeanor. TMZ was the ones who brought that up, but it was after they David hired her. So I always wondered about that. Warrants, especially technology warrants, take time. In Alex Murder's case, some warrants took a year or more. You are right. So, you know what? It depends. It really depends on what type of warrant, the jurisdiction, and where at. Any warrant. Or it all depends. So here's the thing. And I'm going to tell you how, because they got the wiretap on David quick. You have to remember, they got it quick on David. But this is why they got it quick on David. So I'm going to read you first. LA County wiretap warrants require strict judicial authorization, proving probable cause that a serious felony has been committed and that standard investigation techniques have failed or are too dangerous. These warrants are authorized under California Penal Code. Then it gives you the Penal Code, right? So it tells you it has to have some sort of probable cause. Well, what's the probable cause in this matter? They found Celeste's DNA within a month of them finding her in a Tesla. They found her in his own Tesla. They had all this pretty much right away. We just didn't know that they had all this. So what they did was, instead of charging him and arresting him right away, they decided to do a wiretap on him. They pretty much did what the feds do. It's pretty much what they did. They took a page from the feds book. This is how they got all the evidence on him now. So now they got all these text messages. So if he goes to trial, I'm pretty sure he got all these text messages of him probably talking about it. They said they got 42 gigabytes or 42 terabytes of data. So they got all this stuff. Now, when he gets that discovery, when that discovery comes out, which shows all the evidence and testimony that they did for the remember they had 3 grand juries, 3. Which means those testimonies are locked in now. That defensive team has to clear their schedule for a year to probably go through everything because they got so much. This is why the feds have I believe it's a 90% conviction rate the feds have. And most of it's from people pleading guilty because the feds will just let you dig a hole. And you won't even know, but they will let you dig a hole. So they took a page out of the Fed's book. And you also have to think too, this is the same county where they lost the O.J. Simpson trial. None of these people want to be the next prosecutors known to lose the David trial. Because to this day, those prosecutors that lost the OJ trial, to this day, that's what they're known for. You couldn't convict OJ. The glove don't fit. So these prosecutors don't want to be known for that. So they're like, you know what? We're going to do this the right way. We're going to wait. We're going to wire his taps. We're going to wait. We're going to let him dig a hole. I wonder if he spoke about it in a minute to any. Yeah, I wonder too. Tay said his friends knew. I believe there's a couple of people that knew. I believe a couple of his friends knew. I believe a couple of his friends knew something. Now, he might not have told them to the extent, I don't know, but he knew something. Now, if somebody was there helping him dismember, remember, there's 2 chainsaws that was bought. He bought 2 chainsaws, people. So if there's 2 chainsaws and one was used by somebody was obviously there. Yes, I don't understand. They had all this evidence and wait 7 months to and I believe they waited for the grand jury. I believe they wanted to lock down all. Here's the thing. They knew David had money. They knew David was going to try and hire the best attorneys, right? So they knew that David was going to try and do this. And they probably wanted to see, remember, because we're asking right now too, 2 chainsaws. So they probably wanted to see, was anybody else involved in this? Was there anybody else involved? Because David, of course, is going to keep his mouth shut, right? Because you have to remember, they went to witnesses. Neo the Asian's one of them. He kept his mouth shut. Everybody kept their mouth shut. Nobody wanted to say nothing. So prosecution said, okay, y'all don't want to talk? Grand jury, subpoena to court. Now you have to talk. And if you don't talk, you're going to get charged. And remember, David's parents fought hard to not go to the grand jury. Remember that? Now, we don't know if they officially went or not. We don't know. But they fought hard to not go. Reading this, I know exactly why they fought hard. They met Celeste. Celeste went to their house. They they enabled it. They would have to go, they would go and telling themselves, sir, Mr. Burke, you met Celeste, right? Yes, I did. Was Celeste at your house? Yes. Yes, my son flew her out to Texas and we were all at my house. He's telling on himself. So I understand now why they fought hard not to, but they had to get all that evidence, the testimony. And I'm pretty sure, I wouldn't be shocked. And here's the thing. We will not know this. There's never going to come out unless the person who agreed to this tells us. but I'm pretty sure somebody got some sort of immunity in this. Or like I said, a proffer agreement. Somebody got something in this. I am pretty sure. Somebody got something to where in exchange for your testimony, don't worry, you're not going to jail. Or later on, they might face some sort of a lesser charge that can be brought down to a misdemeanor. Like if he transported the corpse or something like that. That can be just a misdemeanor if it gets lowered down. So I can see that, you know? But we'll find out. Yep, David is a big dummy. Big dumb, right? All right, so it says, LAPD served a search warrant at the defendant's home on September 7, 2025. After the victim was identified by Los Angeles County Medical Examiner on September 16th inside the garage, detectives discovered evidence consistent with the dismemberment of the victim's body in the inflatable pool. So the same day they went and searched his home, they found evidence, you know, so which contained multiple liner cuts. Several biological samples which tested positive for blood were collected within the garage area. DNA analysis determined that various samples matched the victim's unique genetic profile. On December 9th, 2025, the medical examiner ruled the victim's death a homicide caused by 2 penetrating injuries to the torso. On January 17, 2025, the victim's U.S. passport card was found by a Cochran's worker off the SR 154 in Santa Barbara County. Passport card, people. Hold on. Does she just have the passport card? Not the whole passport? That's a little different. But she's flying to London. Evidence. The people will present the following evidence at the preliminary hearing, including, but not limited to, the description of photographs depicting the victim, Celeste, with no clothes on, as well as while she was engaged with David in sexual activity when she was 13, as this evidence constitutes child sexual abuse, pretty much violating, okay? The photographs themselves will not be presented, while all possible charges that could be proven were not filed. The CSAM is proof of their ongoing relationship, intimacy rise, while the victim was, and we all know her age. Numerous text messages between the defendant and victim evidence their intimate relationship, pregnancy, abortion, and use of Plan B emergency contraceptives. Messages through March 2025 proved the defendant continued to manipulate the victim as she messaged, "All we do is have sex and just hang out, man. I want more than that for myself." These messages were obtained from the defendant's iCloud data. Oh my God. So Celeste was mad at David saying, "Hey, all we do is this." And she confronted him and said, "I want more than that for myself." Was Celeste starting to see the light? Was Celeste starting to feel like I'm being used? Was she starting to wake up? It sounds like to me Celeste was starting to wake up. Like, hold on, this guy's using me. Ray, do you think David, victim his his brother, and that is why the brother is very angry? I don't know for a fact, but I've heard about some people are speculating that along with the sister. So I don't know. I have no idea that some stuff could have went behind closed doors. We don't know. So the defendants are David's cellular activity and communications derived from David's iPhone and Tesla, which demonstrate defendants' activities from April 22nd, 2025 to April 24th, 2025, including a trip to Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night after the victim arrived at the Hollywood Hills home. Surveillance video of the defendants driving his Tesla on July 29th, 2025 for the last time before parking the vehicle and leaving on tour at the end of July. DNA evidence developed from bloodstains collected from the defendant's garage, which matched the victim's genetic profile. Proof of the defendant's Amazon purchases and delivery to his residence, including 2 chainsaws, a body bag, an inflatable pool, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a burn cage after April 24. Proof of David's purchase and delivery from Postmates of a shovel from Home Depot to his home on April 24. Uber records showing defendant's transactions where he ordered an Uber to pick up the victim from her Lake Elsinore home. Proof of defendant's lucrative career as a singer and songwriter prior to April 23. David had an album release party on the night of April 24. So he had an album release party the same night he's ordering this stuff. He's at the party, probably ordering it. Text messages exchanged between the victim and David between April 22nd and 23rd, where the victim threatened to expose David and destroy his career. This is a brief field to assess the court understanding the scope and relevance of the evidence and prosecution intends to present at the preliminary hearing. The prosecution has issued numerous subpoenas and has appeared to, you hear this? The prosecution has issued numerous subpoenas. People are going to testify and is prepared to proceed with the preliminary hearing. The defense has had multiple opportunities to request a continuance, but has not done so. Furthermore, California Penal Code and list of Penal Code. And that's the date. And there we go with that document. So is David cooked, you guys? Is David done for? Can his lawyer get him out of this? Can his lawyer get him out of this? I think David is done. I don't think there's any more. All this evidence on him. Personally, I don't think he's going to survive prison. I don't think he's even going to make it through. I honestly think he's going to unalive himself. That's what I think. I don't think he's going to make it through. My heartache for that poor child. Mine too. Mine too. And this is the reason why I've been on this case from day one. This is the reason why from day one I've been exposing anybody I feel that's been involved with this. Because she might have acted like she was grown, but she was not grown. Not at all. All adults in this situation failed. Every single adult in this situation failed her. Every single one. Not one adult stood up and said, this is wrong. I'm taking you home. You don't need to be here. And if you keep coming back here, David, he going to jail because I'm going to make sure he's going to jail. Not one adult stood up and stood their ground and said nothing. Poor Celeste had no chance. No chance. Paula said, I love your channel and others are so boring. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hope it's the dimples. Thank you. She was a child forced to grow up way too fast. Lynn said he may become someone's girlfriend. I didn't want to say it, but I can see it. I can see it happening. I can see him becoming somebody's girlfriend for protection. That's how it happens. It happens like that. I'll protect you, but you gotta do a little something for me. I could see it. It was all about the money. They should have put her in a girl's home. They could have done so much stuff. That's the sad part about it. It could have been so much. There's so many things that could have been done. He is going up the river. In my other video, I told you guys, I said I spoke with somebody that's in LA County, who's an actual inmate, because somebody I know, one of their family members are in there. And they are not in the same ward or pod as David, because David's in segregation, actually. So David's in segregation. He's only allowed out like an hour a day. So right now they're keeping him separate from everybody. But when they do court transportation, David is still passing by other inmates when they do court transportation. That's where you get got. If you're in segregation, they still get you. Not only that, a lot of people don't know this, how the doors lock in jail, how they lock. Inmates know how to unlock. They know how, it's called popping the lock. They know how to pop those locks. So if they really want you, they can pop their lock, get out, and then pop your lock. You ain't nothing you can do besides get ready to defend yourself, because you see them come and popping your lock. Okay, and once they get in, you're done. So I do know what he told me, that there are some people already looking at him like he's got a target on his back. As in, he's going to potentially get blackmailed first, which they're going to drain his pockets too, is most likely what's going to happen. They're going to blackmail him, drain his pockets too. Hey, you put some money on my books, you get me some commissary, you do all this for me, I'll protect you. And David's like, okay, I'll give you my last. Okay. Not knowing that once it runs out, protection's gone. You're gone. It's gone, buddy. It's gone. So it's coming up. Christina said everyone felt that girl. She was even picked up from home the night she took that Uber. Did her family report her missing again after that? No. Christina, her family reported her missing, okay, April 2024, even though she went back home. She was living at home. That video I showed you guys, that was after all that. She was home. The family never reported her unmissing. Never. Because the family didn't want to have to deal with the school calling. Because in California, if your kid is not enrolled in school, they're going to call Child Protective Services. Now you got a whole other thing on your hand. And from what I was told from the neighbor down the street, not all of Celeste's family members allegedly are legal. So they didn't want those issues. They didn't want those problems. So they pretty much let Celeste pretty much do what she wanted to do. Let her go where she wanted to go. As long as some money's coming in the house, we can take care of it. In the cops' eyes, you're still missing because you're not going to school. And if something happens, we ain't got to worry about it because you're still missing. We don't know. We don't know you're missing. But she's at the home, going back and forth, visiting her cousin in Vegas at the graduation party. She's actually seen at, matter of fact, watch this. Let me show you guys one more thing. Watch this. Watch this. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find this. There is a video of her dancing at a family event after she's missing. The whole family was at the house. The whole family was at the house having some sort of event, birthday party or something. Trying to see if I can find it still. And then even the teacher knew. You guys seen the video with the teacher, right? Her teacher knew. You seen the, I hope you guys seen that video of the teacher. Her own teacher knew what was going on. Everybody knew. Let me see if I can find this video. Then we'll go on and go into Nancy Guthrie after I find, see if I can find this video first though. One of the inmates will get him. Oh, no, he ain't. One of those guards might accidentally slip up. Oh, I forgot to put him in the wrong, he put him in the wrong pad. I've seen that with my own eyes. Guard will slip up. Oh, my bad. I put him in the wrong pod. Yes, please click the like button. Thank you so much for reminding me. Thank you, Tina. Because, you know, I be forgetting to promote myself. I forget. One of them said, what's the panda? Happy panda. Nootropic energy drink. Oh, so you guys can see it. Nootropic energy drink. All natural. They sponsor the channel. It's not in stores everywhere yet because it's brand new. You have to order it online. So you have to go to www.drinkhappypanda.com. Once again, www.drinkhappypanda.com. Put in the code HP Fugitive TV, and it contains all natural ingredients. It's all natural, okay? Everything is natural. B vitamins, electrolytes, and L-theanine, all right? It's a nootropic energy drink, so that's why it's all natural. None of that fake stuff added into it. So let's continue on with this. Yeah, the teacher called him a rapper. Actually, yeah. Matter of fact, the video's right here. The video is literally right here.
Because I got a picture on TMZ of this other kid exchanging stuff with the rapper. Hold up. That's her in my classroom in front of this poster right here. Okay, hold up. I got another one because I got a picture on TMZ of this other kid exchanging stuff with the rapper who we alleged did this stuff.
TC, we're about to get into Nancy, actually. I was just trying to find one more video of Celeste dancing at the family. If I can't find it, then we'll go right into Nancy.
So when I taught her, she met this dude on social media. He was a rapper in LA. He came and got her. She ran away from home. She was gone for like a month. The cops found her in Hollywood, brought her back to our school. She came back to our school, kind of told people this story. She disappeared again in May of that year.
You hear that? She came back to the school and told everybody the story. So everybody knew. He just said it. Came back to the school and told everybody the story.
May of 2024. That's when her friends told me what happened. And it was this rapper that they were like blackmailing him, all of this stuff. And then I found out.
They were blackmailing, their friends were blackmailing him.
Yesterday that she's now dead in that rapper's car, cut into pieces. You want to know how they met? I feel like I just said it. Social media.
So even everybody knew. Everybody knew. Damn shame. Trying to see if I can find this one last video. Let's see. Here is the garage, okay? David's garage, where it all happened. So it all happened in there. Unfortunately, this is where Celeste lost her life, inside that garage. So sad. If I can't find it, then we'll move on. I know I got it somewhere. Let me try searching here. And let's see what happens. Yeah, if I don't find it, it's fine. Yeah, I don't see it. It's all right. But yeah. So we finished that document on there. I am going to keep you guys updated still on that, all right? So we're going to stay updated on that. Now, let's go into Nancy. All right? Let's go into Nancy. Because Nancy's still missing, apparently. That we know of. Oh, I didn't even see this, Julia. Julia actually sent me the picture. I was looking for this earlier. Julia sent me this. So this is a picture. That picture right there, actually. So that's a picture of Celeste and her cousin. This is at the graduation in Las Vegas. So this was the first proof that we knew that Celeste was in Vegas with David, was this picture. This is the first time we found out was through this picture. I was looking for that earlier. Thank you, Julia. All right, let's go to Nancy. All right, so a lot of people always ask me my thoughts on the so-called porch guy. And I've never had a filter on that. I've said from day one, I said, hey, I think there's more than one person involved. I've also said that there's a head person involved, that I don't think the porch person, whoever's on the porch, is the head person. I think there was somebody behind the scenes that was not there orchestrating it. And I think they were just sent. I've also said, to me, it almost looks like that was staged. It almost looked like it was done on purpose to show us this. And for you guys that didn't follow me, I told you I have a source that's in Pima County. And they told me from the start that when they first released the pictures, the images, before they released the video, okay, they accidentally released the one image of him without the backpack. And they weren't supposed to release that. It was accidentally released. So then they put the video to make us forget about the image of the person out the backpack. But they didn't know why. Okay, they couldn't tell me why or anything like that. But I always said it just didn't look right. It looked from the holster to the weapon in the holster to him picking up these flowers. It just, and then he got the blood splatter on the porch. And I'm looking at this like, it almost looks like somebody just splattered some blood, like sprinkle, or took a little spray bottle and spray some little droplets or something. It almost looks like that. Like it was just planted. And I've always been saying this. Well, now some of these so-called experts are basically saying the same thing. They're saying this, it looks like it could be staged. I've been saying this for a while, people. Saying this for a while. Hold on. I've been saying it for a while. Let's see here if I can find all the original just the original still images when they first came out, which we're probably not going to because they're buried. But I am going to show you this video. So let me pull up this video real quick. Where is it at?
Levels of intelligence involved here. In the front of
What evidence was left behind?
All right.
Claiming.
All right. So watch this expert. You know, that's what you want to call him. This is from TMZ earlier. All right.
To be involved with TMZ. Now, we are approaching the 3-month mark since Nancy Guthrie was initially abducted. And as many of you know that have been following this case extensively, TMZ was one of the first media outlets to receive the ransom notes and alleged demand letters from a variety of people claiming to be involved in this case. Now, aside from that, there have been many topics of discussion regarding how many people were involved, what actually happened at the crime scene, what evidence was left behind, and what the authorities are doing to actually profile the person that abducted Nancy Guthrie in the first place. So talking to me today is Dr. Gary Brucato, a clinical and forensic psychologist. Doctor, thank you so much for joining me today.
Pleasure.
So something I want to get into is the dichotomy between what we see from the Nest doorbell video that Nancy Guthrie had at her front door and drawing a contrast between the behavior of the person in that video and the actual ransom letter that we received. Now, I can't exactly get into what it says specifically, but it seems to us, at least, and to also the authorities, that the person writing this letter was most likely the person that abducted Nancy Guthrie, but also someone that is very astute, someone that knew what they were doing, and someone that had been planning this abduction for a very, very long time. But it seems like someone in that video who is walking up to the camera, they kind of don't know what they're doing. They're trying to cover that camera with their hand before turning around and grabbing those shrubs to cover the camera. He seemed very disoriented, didn't seem like he was a career criminal. What are some things that stand out to you?
I think it's very astute to pick up on the fact that there are likely multiple psychologies and multiple levels of intelligence involved here, which has pointed to me for a very long while now to a group of people, at least two, that are involved in this situation. I think that the individual that we see on the camera is likely a stooge or a goon or a hired person or a confederate who wasn't as emotionally involved in this, who saw this essentially as a gig, a task.
This is exactly what I've said from the start. I said, I don't even have a psychology degree, but I said this from the start. I said that person in that camera, from my experience and what I've seen from being around these type of people, because I have, it just didn't, it looked staged. It looked, and not only that, I knew that he's not the main guy. He's not the main guy, not at all. And it was like somebody else has sent him there and he's with somebody else. You can just kind of tell.
The lack of emotionality points not only to not particularly feeling invested in or caring about the victim, but can also point to a person who is way too cool under pressure when committing, being about to commit, or having committed a horrendous offense, which can suggest a person with a kind of psychopathic character structure. Normal individuals or even career criminals who are not psychopathic are going to show a little bit of physiological activity when they're about to do something horrible. They're a little nervous, even just about capture. The only evidence of fear of capture on the video was the costume that the person wore, which was not especially professional. I do think that your question is in line with my sense that what we have here is what I've called the waiter and chef idea, right? That there is someone behind the curtain who's more intelligent, more scheming, and then the individual who actually carries it out, about whom I think the mastermind figure couldn't care less.
So you're intimating there was a mastermind behind this entire thing that, subsequently hired somebody else to conduct the abduction?
Or at least knows them, is in some confederacy with them financially or for some other reason. I think the motives of the individuals are a little different. Probably there's a financial element, but it's entirely possible that the person behind the curtain, who I am convinced to some degree, whether minor or major, knew the victim. That individual may have had a mixture of motives. There could have been an emotional element mixed in there too. Looking at this case very carefully, using statistics and likelihoods and years of experience with this stuff, I am convinced, as are many of my colleagues, that what went on here falls into one of two general buckets. We have ruled out the likelihood of a sexual motivation,
I
a
agree.
clear robbery situation that went haywire.
Day one, I said
what we're
no
left
robbery.
with is the question of whether there was an abduction attempt for money that went south, and then somebody attempts to collect the money anyway through ransom, or there's some mixture of real attempt to collect ransom and phony people that are just parasitically trying to reach out to the family.
And he's saying a lot of things that I said I said a lot of this from the start. It just didn't look right. I knew it wasn't no robbery gone wrong. Nobody robs the house and does that and takes the body with them. No, it doesn't happen. If it goes wrong, you leave the body there and you just get out of Dodge and you go. That doesn't happen. And you don't rob a house with a full backpack. Nobody robs a house with a full backpack. Where are you gonna put the stuff? So as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's out the window. That was out the window. But there was a lot of theories that was out there, and I was like, no, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. And whoever this guy is on the porch, I always believed he was just there for show. He was there for show. And I believe somebody else sent them there. Somebody else sent them. So, but will we ever know? Will we ever know?
For money. And the second likelihood is that there is someone who knew the victim, wished to eliminate her for some reason, and created a charade of there having been an abduction where it was actually just a homicide. And when a ransom note is written, the person isn't even with us anymore. That is a phenomenon that in my work I have called elimination murder. And it is very typical in an elimination murder to create the impression that an outsider with no connection to the victim came in and did it. And you work very, very hard to cover your tracks and conceal your connection to the individual. However, if you're not a career criminal, you mess up and you don't fake or stage a more likely motivation for an intruder, like a sexual motivation or a robbery. And so what you're left with is the question of, well, then what? So people don't tend to do that very well when they try to do it. So I think one of those two things is going on.
Right. And so what I want to ask you is, in your experience, from the time that...
And Dr. Gary is right. The mastermind probably got rid of the porch guy early on. And then I said that. One of the people I talked to said, hey, one of them is not longer with us, but he's on the other side of the border is what they told me, but he's no longer with us. That's what I keep hearing. I even spoke with somebody who's an inmate. Okay. Right outside of Yuma, one of them prison systems. They said going through that system, that's what they know too, is who the person, one, they don't know if it's the person on the camera or one in the house, but one of them is no longer here.
We see the guy at the front door in that doorbell footage. And the time that Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker disconnects from her phone 42 minutes later, it seems like he spent a lot of time in that house. And what you're intimating is, to you, with the information at hand, it seems like this was somebody that went in there with the intention of harming her instead of taking her for ransom. Would that be correct?
That's one of two scenarios that I would propose. I also think it's important to remember that technically speaking, it is entirely possible that she was not actually taken from there or killed there. It's entirely possible that that happened elsewhere and somebody staged blood in the front of the house, the door being open in the back, and so forth, to give the impression of an abduction.
Finally, somebody on the big news media has the guts to say this. Finally, somebody on the big news media on the network has the guts to say this, that it looks staged. We always had the question. People question that. Did Nancy ever even make it home? We've been asking that question. Did Nancy ever make it home? We asked the question why the timeline kept changing. Why did the timeline keep changing so much? What's really going on? We've had so many questions that were no answers. Why did Thanos call in the homicide detective so quick? Why he calling the homicide detective so quick? For that little bit of blood that was on the porch that we saw, that looked like somebody was just, had a nosebleed or coughed up some blood or something. It wasn't like a pool of blood, unless there's one in the house you're not telling us about. But why did he call detectives so quick? There's a lot of people that think right here. How many believe Nancy never made it home? A lot of people have that question right there. Did she ever make it home? They tell us the garage door opened up. Then they said the garage door opened up, right? Garage door opened up this time, then it closed this time. They said that, right? Didn't they say that? But there's no proof that she went in the house. I can open my garage door up from the phone in a different state. I can be in New York and open up my garage from my phone. So that don't prove anything.
Happened elsewhere, and somebody staged blood in the front of the house, the door being open in the back, and so forth, to give the impression of an abduction, but she is actually killed somewhere else, or whatever fate befell her. I'm sorry to say, somewhere else. The reason, of course, for doing that is to give the impression of a total stranger coming in and doing something. It is in that context that somebody sending ransom notes can be part of a deception process. But notice there's never any proof of life in these. In a real ransom situation, based on statistics, generally the ransom note is communicated within 24 to 48 hours.
And then look how was the ransom note told to us? Who told us the ransom note? Who was like, oh, guys, we got a ransom note today? Who is the king of celebrity gossip in the media world? The king of celebrity gossip in the media world tells us, oh, there's a ransom note from Nancy Guthrie. It just so happens TMZ reports there's a ransom note. Just so happens. TMZ at all places. Hey guys, I got this ransom note. I did send it to the police, but I'm still going to tell you guys about this note that I got. Don't you think that we put Nancy in danger? Like, like you just telling us the evidence. You giving us all. They're asking for a Bitcoin. We do have the address, and the way they wrote the note was very thorough. Whoever wrote this note can spell great. They have great English. Like, we didn't get it from, your news at night, 11 o'clock at news. We got it from TMZ. TMZ is known to put out things that sometimes are not true because there's about celebrity gossip. So when a TMZ all of a sudden become a reputable source for crime news, and if it's not about Britney Spears driving under the influence, when did they become, you know what I'm saying? When did this happen?
And the matter is resolved in a week. In a real ransom situation, based on statistics, generally the ransom note is communicated within 24 to 48 hours, and the matter is resolved in a week or less. And the reason is that the offender or offenders do not want someone in their presence for that long because it leads to too much risk of capture. And the person is precious cargo. You don't want anything to happen to them, or there's no financial value in the abduction. You certainly wouldn't have a person who was bleeding and didn't have their medicine or any of these other things that happened at this scene. That suggests to me a situation where somebody is already, unfortunately, possibly deceased or was injured due to something that exploded in the scene that wasn't expected. So what I'm implying is that it is entirely possible that 40 some odd minutes was spent when there wasn't even a victim there. If
Wow.
the scene actually happened the way that people think, and I am inclined.
Wow. You said that 40 minutes was spent when there wasn't even a victim there. Wasn't even a victim there. Because remember, they were in the house for 40 minutes. So what were they doing for 40 minutes? We had questions about that too.
To think that she was at that house. But if that happened, it is entirely possible that what you had there was somebody ransacking the place looking for some item that wasn't something they were trying to steal, but something incriminating, something that was necessary for financial reasons in a larger way. In other words, you could be looking for something.
And the back door was left open. Remember, the back door was propped open. Propped open, they said.
But you wouldn't spend that much time there. Now, why do I mention that? Because one of the prime reasons for eliminating a person other than financial is that they know something, or that they've walked in on you doing something or are aware of something, and you have to get rid of them. And so in those situations, when you eliminate the victim, you go into their property and you take whatever it is that incriminates you. In other words, there are all kinds of things that could be going on when somebody is spending 40 some odd minutes in a house. But as I said, the two most likely situations: elimination, masquerading as an abduction where there was some need to eliminate her for personal reasons, or an abduction that went south and you try to get the money anyway.
So it seems like to me that you're obviously leveraging your extensive experience in the field and comparing cases that you've seen firsthand to this one. Is there a certain case that stands out to you that you can draw a parallel from?
It depends on which of those two scenarios is true. If the scenario is an abduction attempt that went south, the most infamous case that would come to mind would be the abduction of the Lindbergh baby, where, to me, it's pretty clear that somebody went, up a ladder to abduct that child, and between being placed in the duffel bag and carried down, the child died, and the offender tried to collect ransom anyway. And in that case, I think what we see is a mixture of motives, where there's a financial motivation and also a desire for infamy, for connection to a prominent person, because forever you can't look up Charles Lindbergh with all of his achievements without reading about the person who took his child. So they're bound together forever in history, right? That's the one thing that happens. In the other case, when you're talking about what could be a staged abduction, there are many cases of what I've called elimination murder, so a simple example that comes to mind is the Susan Smith case, where a woman had two children who were an impediment to a romance. Her significant other, her boyfriend, didn't want children, so she drowned them and created a story that a man pulled up in the car, carjacked the vehicle, took the children off, and then they were gone, and she cried crocodile tears on TV and so forth. So there, what you had was the staging of a story in which a total stranger with no clear motive.
And if you guys been following me, I can even think of a story that happened last year. You guys know about baby Emmanuel, or baby Harrell was Emmanuel Harrell, right? You guys know about Harrell, baby Harrell, and Jack Harrell, and Rebecca Harrell? Did you guys ever hear about that case? Out of California, actually. California. They went on, we saw them on Channel 7 News crying, fake tears. Oh my God, I was in front of, I think it was Dick's Sporting Goods. And the guy tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hola," and stole my baby. And they were on Channel 7 News, all these news networks with these fake tears saying their baby got abducted. And this guy tapped on her shoulder and said hola and knocked her out and took the baby, so she didn't know where he went, or he doesn't know. All she knows is he was Spanish, and she doesn't know nothing else because it happened so fast. And then later on, they find out that they're lying. They're lying. And to this day, they still don't know where the baby's at. They believe the baby's no longer with us, but they don't know where the baby's at to this day. That happened last year.
Did something where really the goal was to get rid of crocodile tears on TV and so forth. So there, what you had was the staging of a story in which a total stranger with no clear motive did something where really the goal was to get rid of the children because they were an impediment to you. And so those kinds of stories are actually, fairly common. But because you're dealing with unsophisticated offenders, they don't do a good job of it, and you catch them.
With the information at hand, is it possible for you to build some kind of a profile on who this person might be?
It depends if you're talking about the individual on the camera or the individual behind the camera. I am absolutely sure in my mind that this did not involve only one person for several reasons.
I will look
but
now,
let's say
Julia.
we're talking about the person on the camera. The person on the camera appears to me to have some features of being, as I said, too cool under pressure. I don't believe this is this person's first rodeo with at least petty crime. And I do think that that individual has likely had some contact previously with law enforcement because they're clearly callous and detached under that kind of pressure. And people don't develop those kinds of features overnight. You'd expect an individual to have traits like that going back all the way probably to childhood. So you can expect a person who likely has had some connection in some way, previous arrest, at least on the radar of law enforcement. And I do think they're local because of the comfort level that we see there. And I do think in some way they had some knowledge of the victim. Now, I would add to that individuals like that, while they are not particularly afraid of bodily harm or threat to themselves, do tend to be very reactive to interpersonal slights to their ego. And what you tend to see with people like that is that people in a geographic area remember them. They remember run-ins with them, bumping into them, an argument in a grocery store, whatever, because their reaction is too extreme. They don't forget about it. They become too angry about it because of the wound to the ego in that narcissistic core these people can tend to have. So I would look for somebody with some at least petty background in crime, who would be local, who would be known to people as standing out, as having a kind of a temper and a grudge and committing those kinds of, not committing, but engaging in kind of explosive rage when slighted. And I would also think that that individual has had some interaction with the underworld of the area, whether it's drugs, sex workers, things like that.
The underworld of the area. This would explain why the coyote or the people involved with that has told me that one of the people are no longer with us because that's part of the underworld. But that would explain that.
Those are the kinds of people you would talk to. Now, you would show the image and you would say, look, I know that if you thought of someone you knew very well and you imagined them in a mask, you would still recognize them. If you wore a mask right now, I'd still recognize you, and I know you for only a few minutes. So chances are that person with that distinctive gait and so forth with a mask on would still be recognized as somebody that had seen him in day-to-day life. And I think what you would do is you would show that to people that are sort of in those areas of society that would likely interact with this kind of person. The person behind the scenes
Underworld
would be a scheming, reptilian kind of a person leading a double life, intelligent, cunning, would look almost like a pro-social figure to the victim if there was some connection between them, whether it was minor or major, would almost come across as caring about her, but in fact would have no interest in her whatsoever beyond what he could get out of her. And I think what you probably had was a conjunction, a nexus between these kinds of characters to engage in a elimination or an abduction.
So that's really something you said was really interesting me. You said there were a variety of reasons that you believe multiple people were involved. Now, one of those reasons, obviously, is the state of the crime scene. Another one is the dichotomy, like I mentioned, between the ransom note and the person that we see on camera. Are there any other reasons you believe that you haven't already stated that two people are involved?
I just think that there's too much of a distinction in the the whiffs of motive, intelligence, personality, and psychology that we pick up from the case that suggest to me more than one person. I just don't think that the person on the camera had any investment whatsoever beyond this being a task. And I just think that if that was the case, you would do this in a very expeditious, neat, well-planned way. When you start to see things that are unnecessary or that go haywire or so forth, you start thinking emotion. There's some emotion that played in here. Or the person wasn't intelligent enough to anticipate or sensitive enough to anticipate what human beings do when you come in the middle of the night and try to take them. But I think it is important to bear in mind that it is from the hints of there being different kinds of characters at play that I get that sense. What I envision, if there was a true abduction from that home or even an elimination in that.
You hear that? He said, I'm convinced that he doesn't even believe Nancy was abducted from the home. Because he just said, let me rewind that. I'm convinced he doesn't even believe Nancy was abducted from the home.
That play that I get that sense. What I envision, if there was a true abduction from that home or even an elimination in.
If there was a true abduction from the home or elimination. If there was a true, the way he said that to me, I don't think he believes Nancy was even at the house. I don't even think he believes Nancy was at the house. We have on this channel, which I'll go into that. Let's get finished what he's saying. I'll go into
you
that.
have to picture a situation where 2 or more people would be necessary to remove a person, place them in a vehicle, have somebody driving while the other person is, perhaps tending to putting the person in the vehicle, that kind of thing, like an escape vehicle and the person inside or something like that. You picture 2 people involved. I just think one of them got caught on the camera.
Do you believe that the person behind this is local to Tucson?
I believe everybody involved is local.
And why is that?
I just think that the comfort level, the familiarity, and also it's a very odd victim to choose. I mean, if you were choosing a person for ransom, you would pick a person who is independently wealthy and likely to survive. You wouldn't pick a person octogenarian who happens to be the first degree relative of a wealthy person and all of that. There's too many things about it that are a strange choice. The fact is that from a purely pragmatic perspective, there are other people you could have kidnapped that would have been easier targets, more likely to live, worth a lot more money, and would have had their own wealth. So I just think that the whole thing points to me to somebody that is trying to make this look like an abduction when it was something else.
He said it. The whole thing points to him that he thinks it just looks like an abduction when it was something else.
It's interesting that you say that because, where Nancy Guthrie's house is located in relation to Tucson, in the Catalina foothills, it's a very deserted area. There's a lot of space between her house and her neighbors. And it seems like, because no other video footage has come out, at least to the public's knowledge, that after the abduction had it taken place at her house, they knew exactly the route to take where they wouldn't be seen by any cameras or any other people. So yeah, it's quite interesting. And yeah, I mean, it's probable that they were Tucson locals. Can you think of any other motives behind why these people might have conducted this abduction?
If it was a true abduction, the primary motivation would be
he keeps saying if it was a true abduction. He does not believe it was he doesn't believe it.
Usually financial. And in most abductions, which actually are quite rare in the United States, most abductions are by people who know you. They're mostly of children with sexual motivations or in custody situations. When you're dealing with an elderly person, it's very, very strange to abduct them unless there's a financial motive. But as I said, it's a poor choice for somebody to take ransom because there's too much danger to the individual in terms of not surviving. If it is something that is being staged to look like an abduction, the general reasons that you see in an elimination homicide are an emotional one, like you simply loathe the person for some personal reason, right? And in those situations, you tend to see extra activity, like overkill activity, or things that show the passion or the anger that you feel towards the individual, unless, of course, you're using a hired gun or a person to look like, you know, a stranger did it. And the other things that you might see are the elimination of impediments, like somebody is in the way in a line of succession to something financial, or a will. Somebody is in the way of a romance. Somebody has witnessed something and knows too much incriminating about you. Or another common one would be, let's see, witness, money, romance, impediments. I mean, I think those are and someone being a burden. If somebody is a burden in terms of health, I'm aware of cases where people eliminate loved ones that they're tired of taking care of and they want to go off somewhere and live a different kind of life with the money that they'll get, and they don't want to take care of the person anymore. But those kinds of situations are not uncommon. But what I want to emphasize is, whereas I do think that the people involved, certainly the primary person behind the scene, knew this victim in some way, that could be anybody. That could be a passing relation, like a person who worked in a house or knew the layout, or, you know, contractor or something like that. Or it could be an intimate, a person that you really thought cared about you in your private life.
Doctor, thank you so much for your informed perspective.
So I wanted to show you guys that, because I found it interesting that what he said, a lot of stuff I was saying on TMZ. I'm actually shocked they let him say that, but once again, it's TMZ. What do you guys think? Julia said, according to J, yeah, I saw that. According to JLR, he said a source told him Annie asked Nancy for a loan the day before she went missing. The Epstein files. Did he sound like he knew what he was talking about? I mean, he gave some decent perspectives on that. And he sounds like he does not believe Nancy was even in the house. I bet you off camera, he's probably telling people close to him, yeah, Nancy was never there. She was never there. She was made to look like she was there, but she never made it to the house. What are your thoughts, Ray? Authorities looking into the SATG group, an associated vehicle part of the SATG group that was headed to Colorado at that time after the time Nancy went missing. No. I know some of them that personally, and yeah, they would break in and they would get things and rob the house and stuff like that. But their MO is not violence. Their MO usually, and if you guys don't know what she's talking about, the SATG group, that's the South American Theft Group. That's a name that law enforcement gave to these individuals, because most of them are from South America, Colombia, El Salvador, things like that. What happens is these people come here on a visa, their visa expires, and then it's hard for them to get a job, whatever it is. So they join this group that is like a theft ring. And what they do is they break into homes or businesses, but this is what they do. So a lot of their connections are people that are like, let's say your lawn guy or your maintenance guy, whatever it is, right? And the long guy might come every Tuesday and Wednesday, and what they're doing is they're peeping you out. They're keeping an eye on you, and they're like, all right, this is when you leave. This is when you come back. These people, 99% of the time, do not break into the house while you are home. They will break into your house while you're gone. In the middle of the night, they're going to make sure usually you're not there. Not only that, they don't want violence at all. They don't want to have a shootout with nobody at all. Arizona, people are carrying weapons. So they know certain areas they have to really be careful about. Texas too, because it happens in Texas. But they know for a fact, I am not going to break into your house while you're home because you might shoot me when I walk through the door. They don't want that, because if they break into somebody's home and all hell breaks loose, now that whole group, the spotlight's on them. They don't want that spotlight. So what they'll do is they'll go into these homes, they'll steal items, and they send the items back to like a funneling system back to whatever country it is, and then people get paid and everybody gets paid for it. It's what they'll do. They break into businesses too. Now, these people are actually known to break into Asian homes and businesses, okay? That ethnic group, all right? That's what they're known to break into the most. Their businesses and things like that. Not saying they don't do it all the time, you know, from anybody else, but that's what they're known for. And then they'll break into businesses if they know that business has a lot something, you know, at nighttime. But they never, ever, not once. So I think that's just something to throw us off. I don't even think that's. They've been talking about the SATG group. Matter of fact, watch, I'll show you right now. I think it was Megyn Kelly that brought it up first. But they brought that up almost like a month ago. Yeah, I'm looking right here. Ashley Banfield spoke on this a month ago. All right. So Ashley Banfield spoke on it a month ago. Who else? Megyn Kelly spoke on it a month ago. Let me see here. Let's see if I can find anybody else. Yeah, and Brian Enton mentioned it too. He was talking to somebody with it about a month ago too. So all this, the SATG group, South American Theft Group, this was brought up actually a month ago. And it was kind of brought up in little bits and pieces, and some FBI agents were like, no, I don't think it's them. And they were giving you reasons why. And these FBI agents are right. They're not doing stuff like that. Now, is a possible SATG group could have trained somebody if it wasn't the break into a house? That could be possible, but I don't think they were there doing it. Thank you for having Dr. Guerin. You're welcome. Rose says, I watch him all the time. No, I have not heard of the sister from an SNL writer. No, I haven't heard of that. I'll look into that. You're welcome, SoCal. Now, how do they know? How do they know that a SATG associated vehicle? How do they know? How do they know the vehicle was associated with them? They don't have the plates registered to their name. So how do they know? I know what they drive if they're driving. So yeah, how did they know that the group was even associated, or that car associated? That's what I would like to know. How do they know? Let's see here. Actually, they brought this up even when it first happened. Even more than a month ago. They brought it up when it first happened. And I bet you those people with the SAT, they are hating this right now. Like, damn it. We just trying to steal some silverware in China to send back to Mexico. Not unalive anybody. What's wrong? I'm just reading on some things right now. Yeah, I didn't find anything, but yeah, I would like to know. Let's see here. Let me read some of your comments. Just reading some of your comments. Oh, the Bitcoin, the guy in Cali with Bitcoin. Yeah, I've been meaning to look into that. Somebody sent me that actually. Old man missing me. Bitcoin's involved. I've been meaning to look in that. I'm gonna look into that too. All of it's just time consuming. Looking into all these cases. It's like having another job. But yeah, yeah, Dr. Gary, I think he was spot on with that. I saw that earlier today. Actually, I was listening through my headphones to him. And I was like, man, this man's been saying a lot of stuff that I said. He just said it in a more intelligent way. But he's been saying a lot of things that I said. It just made sense. Like from the start, I said this looked like this was staged. And then all of you guys always asked, how do we know she even made it in the house? Well, guys, it's been 3 hours. Hope you guys had fun. I am going to get off of here. I'm going to call it a night. I gave you guys some stuff to think about tonight. Now you can go lay on the bed and you can think about what Dr. Gary said. Now you can go back and look at all these videos and look at all this stuff and be like, is this why we can't find Nancy? Because she was never home in the first place? Is this why we can't find the porch guy? Because he was an actor? I mean, seriously. Or is he not alive anymore? We went down every rabbit hole for Nancy Guthrie there is. We went down every rabbit hole, from the people that lived in the house to the people that worked with to the son. We went down every rabbit hole. And then you have Dr. Gary that says it could be as simple as she just never made it home, you guys. Which a lot of people question that already. TC says, you did not address my question. You had a question? What was the question? Or are you talking to somebody else? Oh, here we go. Where's it at? Are we going to talk about Timmy as the POA? That's a huge motive. Timmy, you talking about Tommaso? Is that who you're talking about? Tommaso? So I love Marine. Marine, the ex-FBI agent. I want to do a show with her. I like Marine too. Marine is no nonsense if that's what you're talking about. I like Marine. I want to do a show with her. I had concepts in my head of FBI versus The Fugitive, and it would be Marine. I would love to do it with Marine. I think people would watch that. In my books, Tommy, or to wherever you want to call this guy, Tomato, in my books, he's still, I don't know if he did it, but in my books, he is still. Wasn't he the last one seen with her? All I got to say. 90% of these cases we do of missing people, usually it's the last person seen with the woman or the man or whoever it is. So, I don't know. But you guys, I'm going to head on out of here. I am going to get to bed. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Fugitive TV. You guys have been wonderful. You guys have been great. There'll be another video uploaded tomorrow. I'm going to let you guys know when I go live next because I love interacting with you guys, especially when I get the time to. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you to the monitors and to the chat. Wonder Woman, Tina, Julia, thank you so much. You guys have been awesome. Great. Thank you so much. TC. Little P. So Callie, you finally got to make it to a live. So Madison. Rose, thank you. I love the chat because we get to speak. Most of us in here have common sense. That's a good thing about this chat here. Most of us in here have common sense and we all think outside the box. We all seem to have our ears and eyes open to hear certain things and motive or solutions or theories and then think upon it. Not just act, but think like, does it make sense? That's what I like mostly about you guys. Thank you so much, all right? Keep that thought. Take care of one another. Love one another, all right? Until next time, I'm out.